I see the OG Army's forming up in the chat box. Always glad to have you guys here. We're going to have a hell of a show. I don't know if it's going to be a hell of a good show or a hell of a bad show, but we're going to have a hell of a show. Come on, Ryan, figure your shit out. And let's see. In the meantime, I do have topics. I only got like 2 or 3 of them. Unfortunately, I did have to work today. Shouldn't say unfortunate. Unfortunately, I'm fortunate to have a job, especially in these troubling times. And it wasn't a bad day today. It was super nice out. On a normal day, we would have been super duper busy at this point. Afraid to come in. We did a whole bunch of carryouts and some business in the back back patio for people that wanted to eat outside. The inside hasn't been utilized at all. Come on, Ryan, you got this shit. You can do it. We have faith in you. You're the technical genius of the two. I just push buttons and talk like a monkey. So I'm sure he'll get it eventually. One of the unfortunate things about it being so nice out, this is one of the topics I wanted to do, but I guess I can do it solo because it's about me. I had the unfortunate to go ahead and eliminate the person who does that downstairs and just have me do it all day. There we go. Are we doing it? Is he back? Come on. Yay! Yes, I can. Well, right on, boss. Glad to hear from you. I was floundering out here. I've had that happen to me a couple times when I like plugged in and unplugged different audio devices because I have like a couple few between the webcam, even though I don't use the audio on it, it's an audio device, and a couple other things. Occasionally, it just blows all my settings, and I have to go back and reset everything manually. And since you have a more complicated setup than I do, I imagine that could be pretty frustrating.
Yeah, it's a gigantic pain in the balls, but I think we're good.
Yeah, apparently it takes you about 3.5 minutes to set everything back up again.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, I don't know what the hell. Windows can go to hell. Right. I'm never doing an update again until Windows 10 is just not even a thing.
I got a buddy at work who refuses to update any of his Windows until it actually is not supported again. For the longest time, he was on like, God, what was the last good one? Was he
XP?
I want to say he might have been. I think he might have been an XP. It was pretty funny, dude. It was like so ridiculously out of date. He changed it when they stopped fucking supporting it. And the only reason he did that was because we explained to him that fucking he's gonna be very vulnerable to viruses now because there's no fucking support for the version of Windows he's using.
Yeah, I just wish I could get this goddamn thing to just save everything routed the way I have it routed, and we'll be good. But no. What a fucking time.
So I assume you didn't hear any of the story that I was telling.
No, was it interesting at all?
Probably not, but I feel like I got to finish it now. I'll just go ahead and finish it up. I was telling them now instead of not the room for it. Go on. I was telling them that, and now in addition to checking people in the morning, which I told you about before at my job, I now check people in all day. This is because I was too good at my job. They came up to me and they talked to me about the fact that they thought I did a way better job at it than the kids that they are hiring downstairs, because I'm serious about it as opposed to like some of the other employees. So they decided between that and the fact that they were basically paying someone to sit at a table and watch like YouTube videos while people came in, to check themselves in, and the ceiling of the deal was the fact that the club is not busy at all on the inside. There's no traffic at all. So there's no members to be pissed off about this parade of employees like coming back and forth to my desk, because most of these employees aren't normally allowed in these areas in the first place. So they decide that with all of those factors, Jay's going to check everybody in all day, every day. Not a big deal, but it's not exactly something I wanted to add to my full-time job. But I suppose it's the way it is now.
Well, I mean, you should be happy about this because this is your whole authority complex. Now you get to be the bad cop.
All day, every day. Yay! Not a big deal, but it's not exactly something. Which is not what I want. Although I have been pointing out stuff in the club. I don't want to. I don't want to get employees in trouble, so I never mention anybody's name. But I have pointed out a couple things that I think will make this shit safer. One of the objections that I had to the idea of them making me the full-time person was half the employees come up to get checked up just when I'm doing it in the morning without their mask on, because I am where they get their masks. And obviously that's a poor idea. It's not a big deal when they're checking them in downstairs because they haven't entered the building yet. Half the time, actually, the employees sitting outside underneath the tent. Okay. Do I need to remove you guys? Sorry, guys. But now they're all coming in through the entire clubhouse and half of them don't have a mask on, even though they know they're supposed to have on a mask as soon as they enter the building. Most of them throw out their mask at the end of the day and then come get a fresh one for me instead of saving it for at least the trip up here. So I've mentioned that. I never mention anyone's name. I'm not looking to get people in trouble. I'm looking to have a habit that's not a good idea from happening. Does that make me the bad cop?
Well, yeah, because that's what you want to be. But regardless, I think Juicer has a good point. Yeah, I think your dog is even saying, hey, you might want to move on from this topic.
All right, sir. In that case, what do you got?
Well, today, I don't really have anything because I was the one that was up till almost 2 a.m. talking about fights. So I think you're going to quarterback this one. At some point, we can talk fights because there's a lot of stuff going on. But yeah, Jay, okay. What do you got? With the 6 hours that you weren't with us.
Well, I was sleeping during most of that, and then I'm working during the rest of it, so I did not have a lot of time. And it was a fairly busy day as it goes, but I managed to pick up a couple topics before we have to delve into the source of all news, Yahoo News. Let's see, what do I got today? Did you see about the entire thing with the employees of a Five Guys restaurant refusing to serve police officers, earlier this week?
No, it was probably one certain location, and they have a problem with cops and blah blah blah.
Well, people are stupid. Apparently when the cops came in the door or something, they all turned their back on them, and one of them said, "I'm not serving these guys," so they're all fired. Because obviously the management or the franchise or at any level would be cool with that. So stupid people get what they deserve. I mean, that just always amazes me when employees decide what their job is. It's like, dude, how about you go check with your manager before you make a decision like that, who's going to tell you to shut the fuck up, because that's not how you run a business. People are welcome to their opinion, but yeah, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, just who thinks that's a good idea?
Yeah, I mean, maybe people that were about to quit.
Yeah. Like what? I mean, I guess if anywhere you would expect it in something like that, a very low wage job, it's probably not going to attract the most critical thinking of humans. So I guess.
Although the employees at the Five Guys restaurant near me are very nice. Well, I actually kind of like that chain. I don't get it that often because it's a little overpriced, and their burgers can get kind of messy if you put too much shit on them. But they're not bad burgers at all. They just take longer than I'm willing to wait most of the time.
Yeah, they are good burgers, but they're overpriced for what they are. Five Guys, you get a burger. It's like $12 or $13 or something. It's and it's not that great of a burger that it's worth $12 or $13, right? It's still a fast food burger.
Right. It's good when you compare it to other fast food burgers, but now you're at sit down restaurant and bar prices. And I'm sorry, you can't beat the burger at my local fucking bar. Not with any Five Guys shit. That fucker's delicious. It's not even just drunk delicious, it's sober delicious, which is an important distinction when you're talking about bar food.
Well, and either way, so yeah, as Juicer's saying, like then also add the fries, which they have great fucking Cajun fries, but then you add another like $5-6 on it. One person goes in and is spending like $23 on a burger, some fries, and a drink. Like, what the hell is that for fast food?
Yeah, that's just ridiculous. It's not fast food at that point. If I'm going to spend that type of money, unless I'm truly in a hurry, I'm going to go at some place and sit down for that kind of money.
If I'm spending $25 just for myself, I'm getting real food. Not even getting a goddamn burger. I can do that at home.
Yeah, no kidding. Hey, what's this? Team Evil Bad Guys, you're a drunk heckler. Did you heckle somebody? Did you go to a comedy show? First off, who did you go see? And why would you heckle somebody? That doesn't seem nice.
Jay, you're terrible at following chat. He already kind of explained that. So he's been escorted out of 3 comedy clubs.
Oh, so I'm sorry. I'm trying. As I mentioned on the OG thread, I truly am bad at doing 2 things at once. Like when I'm speaking to you, I'm thinking about what I'm saying to you. And when I'm not speaking to you, and Ryan is speaking, I'm paying attention to what he's saying. So I try to read the chat as best as I can, but you got to remember who you're dealing with here.
Well, I mean, maybe you come at this slightly honestly of the fact that you only have one eye that works, so it's kind of hard to keep one eye on the chat and another eye doing something else when you only have one.
It is very true, but this is more of a mental thing because this is it's all listening and then what you'd think I'd be fine. All I'd have to do was just look at the screen while I'm talking, but my brain doesn't work like that. When I'm doing one thing, I'm doing one thing. I'm talking or I'm listening or I'm reading. To do all 3 at once is kind of fucked up for me.
That is absolutely insane that you can't do that. Like I can absolutely follow chat at all times while talking to you. Mind you, I will kind of just, stop paying attention to you at some points. But that's only when you go shower level in your stories.
And then heaven help us if I have to try to look for things to talk about, go through Yahoo and shit, because then I'm not even on the PodBean screen. I'm flipping through different news articles and things like that to find things to say.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. But Tanner, you did miss a fuck you moment from Homelander last night when Sly Dog asked him what he got at Burger King because Homelander and his dad went to Burger King, and that was fun.
Shit. But I have a good authority that Sly Dog loves Burger King. So,
right, that was the point. Like he heard, oh, you went to Burger King. Like, hey, what did you get? Like actually wanting to know.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you that my wife agrees with Sly. That's her favorite fast food place. She way prefers Burger King to McDonald's or pretty much any of the other places.
Of fast food, God, it's different. So what's your ranking for fast food burger places?
Okay,
I wouldn't necessarily put Five Guys in that mix because it is just so overly expensive. I'm talking your drunken college, I have $12 to my name fast food.
No, McDonald's cheeseburgers then. If I'm trying to eat as much as I can at the cheapest rate, McDonald's cheeseburgers.
Well, not necessarily as much as you can. Just I'm going and I'm gonna grab lunch. Like I said, I have $12 in my pocket, and I'm going somewhere fast food. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be burgers. It has to be fast food though.
Oh, probably Taco Bell. Because in my vast experience of fast food, that's the hardest for people to fuck up. Because some of it that doesn't even have to be barely warm to taste good. That you can't, you're not going to get a stale bun. Your fries aren't going to be cold. It's really hard to fuck up Taco Bell. You almost have to do it on purpose. So that's always been my go-to when I went for fast food. If you limit it to the burger places, it'd probably be McDonald's because I'm a big fan of the Big Mac, or sometimes even a quarter pounder. Although to me, a Big Mac felt like it was more food. You need to get into the double quarter pounder to beat the Big Mac as far as food level goes, and that's a little more than I would like to eat normally. So my go-to when I order from McDonald's is a 6-piece chicken McNugget, a Big Mac, and a cheeseburger. Or maybe even 2 cheeseburgers, even though I know I'm not going to eat them both, because when you order all that stuff, I figure not all of it can be fucked up. the fries. Oh, when it comes to fries, although I don't eat that much of them, the fries might be cold. The Big Mac might not be great. The cheeseburger might not be bad, but all of them together, at least one of them is probably fresh and good. Because with most fast food, of course, it's just you're getting it when it's sat around too long.
Yeah, Number one, I'm absolutely surprised you ordered that much because that is like 7,000 calories of food. And you complain about eating like normal food for more than like 800 calories.
Right. Well, you also said college days. Like today, if I could still order all that stuff, it'd probably just be a Big Mac and a cheeseburger.
Fair enough. If I'm going to have to go fast food, and I think I'll use the same condition that Team Evil had, that it has to have a drive-through. I'm going one of two places. I'm either going to Boston Market or Popeyes.
Oh, I don't think I've ever been to a fucking Boston Market. There's a couple of them around here, but I never had any interest. We've had the Popeyes conversation before, so we don't need to go into that. What the fuck does Boston Market even sell, really?
So Boston Market has, like, generally, it's pretty much like it's basically a plate of food, right? So you get like basically a meat, a couple sides, a piece of cornbread, and it's like right around $10. So yeah, so like roasted chicken, roasted turkey, meatloaf. Sometimes they'll have other like seasonal type things.
I don't know what a Kenny Rogers is either, by the way, Team Evil.
Yeah, I've never been to a Kenny Rogers. I know that he had chicken. But yeah, Boston Market, that like sides will be like, they have a really good like macaroni and cheese. You have your staples like your mashed potatoes and gravy, corn, rice, like cinnamon apples, like stuff like that. Like more kind of like home style type sides. So it's basically a pile of meat, a couple sides, a piece of cornbread, under $10. It's kind of real-ish food, so you're not going to get a bunch of overly processed shit that comes out of a pink paste like your McNuggets.
Right, that's delicious paste, dude.
McNuggets have like no discernible taste. They're disgusting.
Well, yeah, you dip them in shit. But no, I always liked chicken McNuggets because they were always a good post-hangover meal because they always seemed kind of mild. Like the day after a really hard day of drinking, I never really wanted burgers or anything greasy like that. My stomach was already upset, but McNuggets always went down easy, it seemed like.
Yeah, I was just never a big fan, mainly because, well, number one, like there's just something unnatural about them, being that they have like 4 standard shapes. And there's no actual consistency to the meat, and it has no taste. Like that's just like 4 levels of wrong.
It has taste. I mean, it's not like you're eating a Cajun sandwich or something like that, but it has some taste to it.
I don't think there's any taste there. I think really they add a little bit. So they add the breading, which is basically nothing but like kind of sugary type batter, and then salt. And I think that's about all that's there for taste. That's why they throw so many stupid little packages of whatever sauce you want with it.
I love hot mustard sauce. I love I wish I had hot mustard sauce to dip fucking everything in. That's just delicious.
Okay, yeah, here you go. Best nuggets out of like fast food places.
That's a good question. I don't know. I've never really gotten at other people's nuggets. I would still have to say McDonald's, although I did have a short fling with chicken fingers over at Burger King. Those aren't bad. And then you get the zesty dipping sauce that comes with the onion rings, which are kind of weird but aren't horrible if you're hot at Burger King. Although Burger King and onion rings doesn't really seem to go together that well.
I mean, the trump card here, like this isn't even really a conversation. It's ChickfilA.
Oh, see, I've eaten at ChickfilA once in my entire life, and it was okay, but we were on vacation in Florida, and so I'd love to have. There's like 2 of them near me, and they're so fucking. They're not near me. They're probably like 4 or 5 to 10 miles away, and they're super duper fucking busy. So I've never been to one.
Yeah, if you want nuggets, Chick-fil-A. I would say best chicken is obviously Popeyes, but they don't do nuggets. They have like strips, and chicken strips are far superior to nuggets anyway, so Popeyes wins.
There you go. Yeah, and I very rarely eat fast food anymore. We went through a spat about that a little bit while we were in the quarantine thing, because sometimes, it was hard to get to the grocery store, and Grubhub will bring you fucking anything. So, but for the most part, even when we were ordering from Grubhub, we tried to do from like actual restaurants and order actual things, as opposed to, ordering Grubhub, McDonald's or Burger King from Grubhub just seemed fucking stupid. I think we did KFC once. But that was it. Every time if we order from one of those food services, we go order from an actual restaurant.
Well, yeah, that's the way to do it. I mean, fast food, really those services, you end up paying basically the same amount as the meal just to get it to you.
Right.
Because it's all cheap, shitty food anyway. And you add on like a delivery fee or whatever it's going to be, and their fucking cut that they add on, and then whatever you're going to tip somebody. If you want fast food, go get fast food, you lazy fuck.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, we did it once with KFC just because we didn't feel like fucking driving. We're like, we'll pay $10 to get our chicken today, because we get like $20 worth of chicken, and it ends up costing $10 between the delivery fee and the tip. It's like a $3 or $4. Actually, it's like the delivery is free, but there's like a $4 service fee. I'm like, well, that's a delivery fee, you asshole. I'm asking you to bring me food. What other service are you performing? But that's how they slip that in there. And then we normally tip like $5 or something like that for the tip, unless we're doing something like a ridiculously large order. I try to do like 25% or with the minimum being $5, so that kind of shit.
So, do you know of the restaurant called She-Wolf in Detroit?
No, I do not. As I've admitted before, I'm very rarely downtown anymore. That was the thing when I was younger. But I will have to check that shit out. Actually, I'll check that shit out right now. Let me go to She-Wolf Detroit. Oh my.
Oh my god! I would never go to this place when the first thing I see on the fucking website is just like, it just looks pretentious. All I see is like 9,000 wine glasses. Apparently it's Roman food. I don't even know what Roman food is.
Well, I don't even know. I'm checking. I'm going to go check the menu right now. Okay, they have antipasta. They're using words I don't understand. I understand pasta. I guess Roman's kind of like Italian. Dulce, I don't know what the dulce is. Oh wow, that's the entire menu. So basically, you get antipasta, pasta, or secondo. I don't know what these words mean. I'm sorry, folks. You might want to just go to the website, shewolfdetroit.com, and check the menu for yourself, because I can't help on this one. How about you, Ryan? You know what any of this shit means? I mean, I can read what the actual meals are, but all the titles for the different types of food are confusing.
Yeah, I don't really see hardly anything I would actually even eat at this place, especially when they start just ruining things. Like you have this, so you have a meal here with pork shoulder, some grilled pork shoulder, but then there's stone fruit mostarda. I have no idea what that is, and red beet puree. That sounds fucking disgusting.
Okay, how about
and $72 for a 24-ounce ribeye? Like, no.
Am I missing that? I don't even see that shit.
Top right.
Top right. Oh, okay. That must be the main. Okay. Yeah, I was looking at this other stuff where the spicy braised lamb neck ragu, organic plum tomatoes, banana peppers, and whipped ricotta. At least I knew what most of that shit was. I don't know how you make a ragu out of spicy braised lamb neck. But that's one of the pasta options. Wow.
Yeah, Sly, you're getting roped into a total fucking pretentious, overpriced, fancy place.
Well, Rome is in Italy. Oh, oh, never mind. So you're going to an Italian restaurant, Sly? Okay, I get it now. When you say Rome, I think like the Roman Colosseum and like gladiators fighting lions and shit. I guess it has to be someplace, though, right?
Well, yeah, it's like if I tell you San Francisco, you're like, oh, the place with the bridge, and it's from Alcatraz there, and like, oh, it's in California, really?
Yeah, okay. I guess that's fair enough. My bad. But don't worry about it, Sly. So if you pick the right thing, I'm sure it's gonna be fucking delicious. I deal with fancy menus and fancy food all the time. As long as the biggest thing is making sure you pick something that's gonna fill you up, because some of those fancy meals, there's not a lot to it. But they don't. That's not even how our normal menu is. But when they have like wine dinners, that's one of their more common fancy events where they have all these fancy different types of food, and they have like 5 or 6 courses each with a different type of wine. So you, by the end of it, you're drinking like most of a bottle of wine, so like 4 or 5 glasses. It might even be 2. So and some of the food is all about the presentation and how it tastes with the wine, as opposed to trying to fill you up.
And that shit's stupid. If
sure
I'm going to get food, I want food.
Right.
I don't care about your fucking creative vision.
Right, and that's not how the normal food is at my club. It's obviously, it does have presentation, but it's also large portions because it's the members club. They're not gonna not feed themselves enough. But it'll be interesting for you to report back and see how you enjoyed the experience. I don't know. Maybe Sly goes to fancy restaurants all the time. Maybe we're not telling him shit.
Yeah, he's gonna go and find out it's pretentious, and he's on the way home gonna swing through a Burger King drive-through and get his Whopper. And Tenor, I'm sorry, it's not just San Francisco where you can freely shit in the street. That is anywhere that you want if you're daring enough.
See, Tenor said antipasto is delicious salad. That type I'm familiar with. Like when we go to the Alibi, which is a pizza place, they have a delicious antipasto. But that was an entire section of the menu labeled that. So I guess that's Roman for just a salad in general, I guess. I didn't even. I should have actually looked at the selections before I started fucking talking, because who knows? Wow. One of the selections under antipasta is thinly sliced Wagyu beef, hazelnuts, crisp capers. Yeah, okay, they're salads. So once again, if I would have fucking read, I wouldn't have made a fool of myself. But what the hell, right?
Yeah, that might be it. Also, you want to take care of the dumbass in the chat?
I don't know which one's that. Oh, I missed one? Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I wasn't paying attention. Bye-bye. It doesn't take long anymore, does it?
No, not at all. Oddly enough, I made myself an administrator like yesterday when I was playing around with things, but apparently I can't do shit with this BlueStacks thing.
Right.
So,
you are. Yeah, I think you can't. Oh, you can't use it. You can't click on them and block them or anything like that.
No, the only thing it'll do is take me to their profile. I can't do anything from it. So, yeah.
Oh. Okay. Well, that's a bummer. But regardless, we'll be fine either way. Well, as far as that goes, you want me to move on to my second topic? I do have another one. I'm so proud of myself. I had 2 this week.
Oh boy, you had 2! Wow.
I actually
look
have
at
3,
you.
but one of them. Well, I have 3 technically, but one of them is just one line, so I'm not really sure how far it will go. My second topic for tonight is I saw in the news a woman is in intensive care, was in intensive care for a week after overdosing on caffeine. Have you heard about these type of stories lately?
Not lately, but it's absolutely a thing you can do.
Right. Well, it's not. It's lately. It's a different thing apparently, because there's something called powdered caffeine that's widely available on the internet. And people are being fucking stupid about it because it's ridiculously potent. This lady was in intensive care for 2 weeks. For a week after overdosing on 2 teaspoons of powdered caffeine, which ended up being equal to 56 cups of coffee.
Yeah, people are fucking stupid. I have caffeine pills that I will take in lieu of like coffee or things like that, like before a workout or depending on when I need the actual benefit from caffeine. 'Cause caffeine's actually a useful supplement if you're using it right.
Right. But yeah, fuck. They're actually surprised she's not dead because she went well over the lethal amount to do so, which is why she's in intensive care. It's not a good thing. And a lot of people can't understand why they would sell it, because at that level, like if you're buying it to add to like a a your pre-workout drink or something like that, you could be off by a very small amount and fucking kill yourself. I mean, how small of amount do you really have to put in there to have it be okay? If 2 teaspoons are fucking 56 cups of coffee, that means 1 teaspoon is like 23. Uh, what's the proper amount to put into something like that? Like an eighth of a teaspoon? Even that would be like, what, 5 or 6 cups of coffee or some shit like that?
This is why I just get the pills and you just take 1 pill.
Yeah. I assume that they sell it in a powder form to fucking companies that use it for caffeine pills. So they have a machine or like really fine scales that puts the proper amount inside the pill, like a little capsule, and then it packages it up and they put it in a package and they sell it to fucking you. So who's not stupid enough to go out and buy protein, to go out and buy caffeine powder just because he's trying to save a little money? You know better than that shit. You buy it from people that have already measured it out and made it accurate.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, it is probably marketed to not necessarily just people that obviously do it the pill form, but like, putting in a cup of that shit in your, however many gallon vat of Mountain Dew that you're bottling up for all of the fat asses out there.
Yeah, and I'm seeing on the chat box that they're talking about how Luke Como got pulled from a fight because he had too high of a caffeine level from coffee enemas. And of course, it was Luke Como.
Well, I mean, yeah, the guy that drinks his own piss is obviously going to drink his coffee anally.
That is the same guy that was on The Ultimate Fighter, correct?
Yeah, he was the weirdo on The Ultimate Fighter.
And now he's one of the weirdos on our internet forum, if I'm correct. I do see him post every once in a while.
Yeah, I haven't seen, it's probably been a while since I've seen anything from him, but yeah, it was. I think we all remember when he had the thread about drinking his own pee.
He was an odd guy on the show too. I mean, he doesn't seem like a bad guy, just an odd dude.
Well, yeah, he's a different kind of guy.
Yep, that is correct. It's funny because he's one of those dudes that doesn't look like he should be able to fight worth a shit, and boy, would you be wrong.
Well, there is the idea that, you are a weird looking dude that drinks his own piss. Like, you've probably been in a lot of situations in your life that you end up having to fight.
That's a good point. He probably had a plethora of experience before he even got into the UFC.
Yeah, I mean, if nothing else, his unibrow, like, I'm sure he got in quite a few tussles, growing up.
Yes, I imagine so. But, that doesn't necessarily make you a good fighter. I got into a fair amount of fights when I was a kid, and I lost almost every single fucking one of them.
That doesn't surprise me.
Let's see. So, yeah, I think we've covered the stupidity of caffeine overdoses adequately. I actually only have one more thing to talk about, and hopefully, I imagine it's probably not going to go along. I love my bug assault gun. Have I ever told you about this thing?
Yeah, you talked about it. Your little salt gun.
Awesome. Oh, yeah. Well, now it's the height of summer, and despite all my best efforts, bugs get in here occasionally, and they fucking pay now. It used to be it was just flies, because the original bug assault gun I had wasn't super strong. Like, if you got it close enough, it would kill a fly, but mostly you probably just shred its wings. Now, I will say that part of that design they did on purpose, because if you make it too powerful, you're not going to shred the wings of a fly and kill it. You're going to fucking splatter it. And nobody really wants splattered fly all over the place. At least that was the theory. However, they decided to throw that theory out the window and make their Bug Assault 2.0 Home and Garden Edition. This is supposed to be used for outside where you don't give a shit if you're splatting a bug. But I still use it inside because for the most part it doesn't. It just kills them really fucking dead. I killed a carpenter ant just before the show, which is what made me think about it. And the first one wouldn't have touched that thing. So I saw it crawling along. You can't have carpenter ants in your house. That's a bad idea. I know it just wandered in. My house isn't like infested or something, but I still wanted to send a message to the other carpenter ants. So I go grab the old bug assault gun, turned on the laser sight for it, fired, missed, which was embarrassing, but it was moving. But I got him on the second shot and blew him across the fucking room. I was so proud of myself.
Jesus Christ, Jay.
I felt like a mighty hunter. It almost made me want to open my doors for a while and let some other bugs in.
You are such a fucking weirdo, man. Such a fucking weirdo.
Well, I'd never want to hunt an animal. I'd feel horrible about it. I
Jay,
don't really have any problem with it. Yes.
here's another one for you.
Yeah. He's not. I have to wait till he pops up on the. Oh, okay. There he is. All right. See you. Bye.
All right.
Whoops,
There
that's
we
the
go.
wrong button. We'll try this one instead. There we go.
And, however, I am amazed that the bug assault gun has a laser sight. Like, really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, you don't want to miss, right? The stakes are high. you don't want a pissed off wasp in your face because you missed that shit. You got, especially something that stings. You got to get it on the first try.
That amazes me that is a thing.
Yeah, they're pretty fun. I mean, you've seen the other versions of it. Like there was for a while in the kitchen at work, they had an electric fly swatter. You ever seen one of those?
No, I don't think I've used one of those either. Yeah, I was used to growing up with like actual fly swatters or like Raid or whatever else. I never knew this was like a niche, market for like weapons to kill bugs.
Well, the electric fly swatter is almost as cool as my bug assault gun. Yeah, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's it's a fly swatter, but it's it's got a metal grill to it with a battery to it, and or probably a couple batteries. And when you hit a fly with it, it's just like an electric bug zapper.
Fair enough. Yeah. Again, I've never seen it, never used it. I don't necessarily have many bug issues.
Oh, well, Michigan's not horrible for it, like I imagine a lot of the South is, but you do get bugs occasionally, and I can't stand fucking bugs. I do not tolerate bugs in my house, and my wife is scared of bugs, so she fully supports my arsenal of anti-bug weaponry.
Fair enough. Go you with all your bug artillery.
Well, that's about all I got to know. You want to talk about the fights?
Absolutely. Did you at least catch up on what happened last night?
Yes, I did read all the different updates, mostly during my breaks in the bathroom. But I did have a little time to read up, so I know who won and all that good stuff, if not the details.
Well, yeah. So let's at least discuss the main card. So obviously the main card started out with Amanda Hebus versus Paige Van Zant, and Paige Van Zant lost in 2 goddamn minutes. How do you feel about that one, Jay?
Well, I mean, how do I feel about the sun rising? You're asking the same sort of question. I mean, that's what was going to happen. Nobody realistically gave her a chance. The one thing she had going for her is that she's pretty tough and she does not give up. But if you're fucking, in an armbar, well, I guess you're done even if you give up or not, really. So she did the smart thing and didn't let her arm get broken. But
and the ridiculous thing. So I'm going to play off what Urkel's saying here. The ridiculous thing for such an attention whore that she kind of is, like that's kind of her thing, right? Like showing her tits on Instagram, like that's been her thing while she keeps, breaking her arm. Why was she wearing the full t-shirt while fighting?
I don't know.
Like what the hell?
That makes zero sense.
Like
makes zero sense to me.
Yeah, you're actually like hurting your marketability fighting that way.
And I don't know. I don't hold it against her. It's actually, normally I'd be like, oh, cool. You're not trying to get by and you look alone. But as you mentioned, that's what she does. And it's not like, I mean, she's on Instagram every fucking day, right? So she's one of those people that keeps herself in shape regardless. So it's not like she was trying to hide like a gut or something like that, because she came in like out of shape, which is something that you sometimes see when the women wear their full shirts. There's no logical reason for it, really. Maybe her boyfriend didn't want her to dress like that. Don't go out there and be a slut.
Yeah, like I don't get it. But so this is the last fight of her contract, and apparently she's going to test free agency. Who do you think it's going to be that pays her way more than she's worth?
Well, I did appreciate the fact that Dana was like, yeah, that's a good idea. She should go test free agency. In other words, you're not getting another contract with the UFC. We're done with you. I don't know, man. Bellator is not really fighting all that much. I'm assuming it'll be back. Invicta would be honestly a backward step for her, obviously, since it's a feeder league for the UFC. So I don't really see that happening. I honestly think she's probably done with MMA.
Yeah, so I think there's probably a couple things that could happen. Possibly Bellator, depending, as they get back and what their finances look like. Since aren't they the ones that have her husband's contract? Isn't that where he fights?
Yeah. I think so. Don't quote me on that, but that sounds right. I mean, there's only so many places they could fight that are based in the U.S. So, being that they are here, for the most part, they'll probably be at Bellator.
So I think either that. I don't think Invicta is a thing at all because there's no way that they're going to pay her as much as she even was making in the UFC.
Right.
And then I think the only other one that could really be something is possibly like one overseas.
Yeah, I suppose.
Because, they paid a bunch of money for fucking Sage Northcutt, and she's basically the female version of him.
Yeah, that's true. She might have to make some adjustments for that, but that might be a good place for her because it's not like she's horrible. It's just she's not a UFC level talent.
Yeah, she is a very much average fighter who somehow thinks she's worth more than any other of the high level fighters because a bunch of people follow her when she shows her tits.
Yeah, well, or and she was on Dancing with the Stars, which made her more popular. She does have more name value than most of the female fighters on the roster. So there is some logic to her wanting more, but just because she's better known, that doesn't necessarily translate to pay-per-view buys.
Right. Well, CM Punk is better known than almost every fighter on the roster, and we see how long that experiment lasted.
Right, exactly. If you're not good, they're not going to pay you regardless of how popular you are. That worked for Brock Lesnar because he fucking beat the fuck out of people. And that's the difference between Brock Lesnar and CM Punk. If CM Punk even had like mid-level UFC skills, he would have made a shitload of money from them because, as you mentioned, he's better known than any of them. If they could feed him like low-level UFC fighters and he beat them up, they'd be happy doing that till the fucking cows came home because that would be a big pay-per-view draw. All these wrestling fans watching CM Punk beat up like UFC fighters, like, see, we knew wrestling was real the entire time, but he didn't have the ability to do that.
Exactly. Yeah, he was absolutely terrible, and I'm not necessarily comparing CM Punk to Paige Van Zandt, but it's the same idea that she thinks she's worth so much more just because she's a name, even though she can't beat anyone inside like the top 10 in her division.
Right. Your fans, you're not MMA fans are only going to tune into MMA fights so many times to watch you lose. If you win a lot, well, then yes, that translates into way better than your average MMA fighter with those same wins because you have those fans interested in you. Like if you win a lot, your non-MMA fans will buy the MMA fights. But if you suck, then that's not going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's something that'll be interesting to watch. Especially as these other companies, like, they don't even really have a road back yet. Like, has anyone heard when the next Bellator card is going to be? Or really any other company? Like, UFC is kind of...
like, I thought I saw something like Bellator is back July 27th, but I might be pulling that out of my ass.
Yeah, I have no clue. I guess I'd have to look. But, yeah, so once they get back in the swing of things, I think that's probably the most likely one. I think the sleeper would be one. The problem is like they're having troubles with all of the shit that's going on in the world too. So yeah. I don't know.
And well, they mentioned in the chat box the WWE, even though that she might be too small for that. So that'd be an interesting proposition. I guess she's got enough popularity to make the transition to WWE. I don't know if she has the athletic ability because that's way harder than being a professional fighter on some levels.
Well, that, and I think one of the problems you have with that, right, is like she goes from the hottest MMA fighter to a middle-of-the-road professional wrestler woman as far as looks goes, right? Like,
right. Well, I mean, that worked for Ronda Rousey. Obviously, she's not as well. I think she's pretty myself. I don't think she's like the same level as most of those professional women wrestlers.
But she was able to come across and be like, I was the best fighter in the goddamn world, and that's how they like booked it.
Right,
So
right.
Paige is
And team,
what she's going to come across and be like, I was like a 500 fighter. Look at me.
yeah. Well, and Team Evil Bad Guys bringing up, I can't remember how to say her name.
Shayna Baszler.
Baszler? Yeah, yeah, who is like average looking. But she had a persona that was, I guess, able to pull it off with, her entire bad guy act. I don't know how popular she is, or even if she actually made it to the WWE, because I know she was wrestling in other spots.
Yeah, she did, but that's the thing. Like, she also went like from the ground up, so she actually became a good professional wrestler per se, and then made it.
Right.
Whereas like Paige, you'd have to basically bring her in from the ground level, having no clue what she's doing, and then what do you bill her as? Former mixed martial arts fighter that wasn't very good and is average looking by our standards. Like, I look at it from a business sense of trying to push her or sell her, and I don't know how I would do it.
Right, that's true. And she wouldn't take like a smaller contract. Apparently, she does make pretty decent money from the Instagram shit. So as long as she kept her popularity, with her, at least maintain the fans that she has now, she can live comfortably just off that shit. Which means she probably wouldn't go the way Matt Riddle did, which was like throw himself all into it and work his way up from the bottom, like you did, like you said about that other chick. And he was like, he had the same problem. He was in the UFC, but it wasn't like he was some world beater. He only had like 3 or 4 fights before he smoked too much pot and they kicked him out. So he couldn't go to the WWE and say, yeah, I'm a badass UFC fighter. So he didn't. He made up his own persona, which was fucking funny. I don't really follow wrestling, but I guess he calls himself the King of Bros or some shit like that, which is funny as fuck.
But yeah, so that was the first fight of the evening. Let's move on slightly. So second fight was Rose Namajunas, and she beat Jessica Andrade.
Yeah, should have been a split decision. Most people say no.
So unfortunately, I didn't see a ton of that fight while it was going on. I went back and I watched most of the main card today.
Right.
She absolutely won the first 2 rounds. In the third round, Andrade came on pretty strong, pieced her up in her face pretty well. Ended up with a pretty good mouse under, I think it was her left eye, and cut across the nose. May have actually broken her nose. But yeah, she looked very, very good. Looked crisp. So it looks like her layoff, didn't really have any sort of ring rust from it.
Right. Do you think the fight would have went differently if it had championship rounds?
Probably would. Like, I don't see that fight going well for Rose after she started to take that damage.
Yeah, that's probably true. I mean, some people push through it though. So just because they have a bad round, it doesn't mean that they're going to not rebound in the rounds after that. But so do you think it was? I mean, did it look like she was tired? Do you think that's the issue? Do you think the other chick whose name I'm not going to try to pronounce, like, had her number after that, had her figured out after 2 rounds?
She was just starting to really kind of accumulate some damage. So if that fight would have kept going, like, that eye probably would have ended up swelling shut at some point. So yeah, it wouldn't have necessarily gone well there. But regardless, I mean, she won the fight. So depending on what her turnaround looks like she very well may be the next to fight Zhang Wei Li.
Wow, that'd be interesting. As much as I like Rose, I don't think that'd be a good fight for her.
So why don't you think that's a good fight for her? She, like, if you think back, like, Rose completely destroyed Joanna, and Joanna took, Wei Li to the limit. And some people thought that Joanna won that fight.
Yeah, I don't know. Just because Wang Li hits so fucking hard, it just when she hits someone, I'm like, oh, it looks like it hurt, which rarely happens when I'm watching women fight. So I guess I just don't want Rose to get hit like that because I like her. She seems like a nice person.
Fair enough. I love your criteria on these things.
What was the next one?
Next fight was Piotr Jan versus Jose Aldo.
There are people. Was this the one? No, okay, that's not the one. This is the one where it went poorly for Aldo. Did he look good for the first round or two? That's kind of what I heard.
He looked absolutely great in like the first. So he got the end of the first round. Aldo went for kind of a takedown. He actually ended up on bottom. Jan landed this just incredible body shot and almost ended the fight. But Aldo was able to kind of weather through that. Aldo was probably taking the first up until that, so the first could have went either way. Jose Aldo in the second looked great in the third, and then he started to slow down. Like, I think you can tell with his age and that weight cut, he just doesn't necessarily have the gas tank to go 5 rounds. So Jan was definitely able to, start accumulating more damage in the fourth, and then in the fifth, like, watching what was happening there, Aldo was just getting battered. Like that. Yeah. That fight could have been stopped probably a minute or a minute and a half earlier than it was. Because pretty much the beginning of that round, Jan went out, got Aldo down, was kind of threatening there, and just was, landing a ton of ground and pound. So it was kind of a rough one to watch, but it was fun watching Aldo those first few rounds. Because, I mean, he looked like old Aldo. Was starting to throw some great leg kicks, was moving well, was getting in and out. Like, he was able to, land some pretty good shots on Jan, but Jan is a bad motherfucker.
Yeah, I saw some of the highlights. He's fucking quick. I watched him like hit Aldo with like this quick little fucking double jab. Like he hit him with a jab, pulled his hand back like 3 fucking inches and hit him with another jab that looked like it hurt as much as the first fucking jab. I was like, what the fuck kind of Bruce Lee one punch shit is that?
Yeah, so this will actually be interesting because that entire division, like, if you think about it, right? Like, these two just fought for the vacant title, and you have like really almost 3 people that you could talk about as far as having the next shot at that weight class. So the guys you have out there, you have Marlon Moraes, who's ranked number 1 right now. You had Aljamain Sterling, who looked absolutely amazing in his last fight. I think he's rattled off 5 consecutive wins against pretty top level guys. And then you also have Garbrandt after that knockout from hell, former champion. So, like, who do you put in there with Jan? Who do you think, Jay, knowing that you don't follow it that well, as well as you should
Sterling. It's Sterling, 100%. He's earned it. They passed him up. It seems like the last 2 shots, it should have been his. But but he was. I like how the fact that while he was asking for the title shot, he didn't get all fucking shitty about it when he got passed up. So that plus the fact that I think he's got the best record going forward to deserve that sort of thing. He should be next.
Yeah, I'm torn between Moraes and Sterling. Moraes, really, his only recent loss was to Cejudo.
Right.
Otherwise, he's just been tearing through everyone as well. So, I mean, either way you go there, I think the best thing you do, though, is you give either Sterling or Moraes that shot, and then whoever you did not give the shot, you match them up with Garbrandt, and then you have your next title shot right there.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea, because Garbrandt is the only one that definitely doesn't deserve a shot yet, but for one more win, he definitely does. So that's a good idea.
And the thing with it, you never know with the UFC, right? They could very well just give Garbrandt the shot because he's the biggest name of the 3.
Right, that's bullshit, but we all know how the UFC works with that. It's what makes them the monies.
Absolutely. So your co-main event, so the second of 3 title shots, Alexander Volkanovski beat Max Holloway by a split decision.
Yeah,
they got this one wrong.
What do you think about that?
They got this one wrong.
Oh, you think so? You think Holloway did? Well, I did barely any research into it, but Volkov got more significant strikes than Holloway did. But that's not the be-all end-all stat, obviously.
But that's the thing. This is another situation where, like, you take a look at the fight, and you have, like, say, round 5 was like clear Volkanovski. So that's where he's kind of picking up some of these extra shots. So if you just look at the totals, like, you may just see it that way. But yeah, they got this one wrong. And, like, what do you do at this point? Because the first time they fought, again, it was a razor close decision. Some people thought Holloway won. Some people thought Volkanovski won. You have them fight again. Basically, same things happened. But, like, on this one, like, Holloway absolutely should have won. Go ahead and get rid of this guy, too, Jay.
Oh, yeah. I got him.
But yeah, like, what do you do next? Like, you don't want to hold up a division where you have, the champion and challenger. They've now fought twice in a row. Like, you can't really run it back a third time.
I don't know. That's apparently what they do. Look at heavyweight.
Yeah, but heavyweight was a slightly different circumstance there. Because that one, at least it went back and forth.
Right.
Because you had
that's a good
DC
point.
1, then you had Stipe 1, and now you look at the third. This is Volkanovski 1, Volkanovski 1.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, both of them are, in both cases, it's holding up to the division. But I guess the difference being obviously being 1-1, it makes more sense to do a third. But as you mentioned, both these fights were like really, really, really close. Then could have went either way. So you don't think that gives any more validity toward a third fight?
I would love to watch it again. Like, I could see that being a great fight again, and like it may be the fight that, probably what would end up happening is these guys would fight again. This time Holloway would win like a split decision that should have gone to Volkanovski. Like, that would just be the karma of this one, wouldn't it?
Right. And obviously it didn't work out like that, but well, what are you going to do?
Yes, that one's interesting. And who else is really out there that they're going to, put up there against Volkanovski? Like, the featherweight division, like, there isn't a ton of big names. So if you look at the rankings, obviously Max Holloway was number 1, number 2 was Zabit, Magomed Sharapov.
How is he number 3? I'm number 2.
How is he number 2? Are you saying he shouldn't be that high?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Tell me who he fought and I'll let you know.
You really got to start following these things again, Jay. Like, this is...
I know. I've been busy.
But, like, he absolutely probably deserves a shot at this point. He is 18-1. He's never lost a fight in the UFC.
God, all these times these guys sneak up on me just because I don't follow the lighter weight classes that much.
Yeah, he has 6 fights in the UFC. He's won every last one of them.
That's why. Because I mean, obviously I've heard his name a few times, but not paying attention to the lighter weight classes, I didn't realize he was winning that much.
You should have known. Like, this is a guy that you definitely should have remembered, just if for nothing else, because he has a name that you have no hope of ever being able to say.
I think that's why I possibly blocked him out of my memory, out of bitterness.
So either way, maybe he gets that next shot, maybe he doesn't. I don't know what the heck's going on, but yeah, that one I kind of felt bad for Holloway. Hopefully Holloway goes out and gets a fucking haircut, because his kind of poofy, weird-looking hair and bad hairline, like, makes him look even dumber than normal. So
that's a bad look for him, huh?
Yeah, he does not look good. Someone needs to step in on these guys. Like, Holloway, he doesn't have the best hairline anyway, and like normally he keeps it like buzzed down and looks halfway normal. He looks terrible right now. Remember how bad Garbrandt looked, trying to hide his male pattern baldness?
Well, some of that might be quarantine hair. A lot of fighters have checked in a lot shaggier than they normally are for the fights. Look at Masvidal. He fucking looked like a fucking lumberjack and shit.
Well, yeah, I think that was more his choice, though.
Well, he didn't used to be like that. It's like since in the last year or two, he apparently just decided he wasn't going to cut anything anymore.
Right, yeah, but again, that was more choice than lack of options.
Yeah. So, tell me about the last fight, sir.
So, yeah, last fight was Usman versus Masvidal. So, it kind of went like most people thought it was going to go. So, I mean, it came out. Masvidal looked great when there was distance between the two. Like, he is obviously the more talented striker. And he had surprisingly good wrestling. Like, when Usman was able to get in on his legs, he was generally able to kind of fight off takedowns, and when he did get taken down, he was generally able to find his way to his feet. I think the thing he wasn't ready for was just how strong Usman is, like, in the clinch. So Usman would clinch up and just push Masvidal against the cage and just completely wear him down from there. So I don't know if you watched any of the like post-fight interview with, well, not post-fight, but like post-event interview with Masvidal, and he kind of reaffirmed that, yeah, he didn't have a lot of a gas tank coming into this anyway. Obviously, the weight cut was kind of an issue. Of course, everyone's going to say that, but like that was his thing, is he wasn't prepared for Usman to be able to neutralize him against the cage in that way.
Right.
So, of course, he wants to run it back. Apparently, Usman's cool with that as well. Obviously, this won't be the next fight for Usman, but it'd be interesting if Masvidal can go out and get a win against, maybe like a Leon Edwards or someone like that, and maybe be back in line, being that, he bailed the UFC out of a fucking problem. Like, I'm sure they will be in the position to kind of, usher him to the front of the line a little bit quicker than he may normally see it.
Yeah, and he did mention that he doesn't, as you said, he doesn't really want to fight him right now. He wants to get a couple more fights in. He said he's willing to work his way back up to a title fight.
But it'll definitely be interesting, especially like with some of the people that he's been working with going into this fight. Like, the more he can work with, like, I'm sure you probably don't know who this is, but he brought in Bo Nickel. And the more he has a guy like that in camp, the better he's going to be prepared for fighting a guy like Usman. Because Bo Nickel would absolutely shit on Usman when it comes to both folk style and freestyle wrestling.
Ah, interesting. Yeah, because I did a little research on Usman rather, and while he was like a wrestling champion in college, it was Division II, which doesn't necessarily mean he wouldn't have did well in Division I. Yeah, but it is normally a different talent pool.
Yeah, so if you were looking up Usman, look up Bo Nickel, and then you'll see like the different levels of wrestling accomplishments.
Right. That doesn't surprise me. As I mentioned when I looked up Usman, people are like, he's an amazing wrestler, and I was like, I looked at him. Obviously, I looked him up, and obviously he's not a bad wrestler at all. But he didn't have that many accolades in college and shit. He wasn't like an Olympic wrestler and all that shit.
Yeah, so he was pretty good. He was training to try to make the Olympic team. But then you have, there's levels to it. So the more that Masvidal can get in there, and he's really specifically training for what Usman is great at.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it could be interesting if they do run it back and Masvidal is able to basically keep his ass off of the fucking cage. He needed his back to be to the center of the octagon as much as possible, and then I think it probably is a different fight. And Tenor was saying about, I think he was talking Kelvin and not Calvin. Tenor, are you talking Gastelum?
I would assume.
I'm assuming yes. But yeah, Gastelum probably would beat the shit out of Usman.
Really?
Gastelum is so much better than most people think. And if you think about how well he did staying in the fight, like in quite a few of his recent fights, like Gastelum is a tough dude. He has enough wrestling there that I think he would be able to nullify a lot of what Usman's good at, and he's big enough that he can also deal with the power.
Right.
But like if you watched the fight with Adesanya with Gastelum, and Gastelum proved like he can go like the full 5 rounds, hang in there, good sized guy. So like, yeah, if he could actually get down to 170 and maybe actually follow a diet for once, he would be an absolute problem. Like he's such a almost of an enigma, right? Like you have Gastelum who fights now at middleweight, and you can tell that his body structure is absolutely a welterweight. But something about him, he can't make that change to his body, and it's weird.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, because obviously you can't say he's not disciplined or something like that. You can't train for UFC and not be disciplined. It's a really hard routine to keep up. I guess just when, in his off time, you just can't stop eating what he shouldn't be eating. I mean, that's all there is to it. There's no rocket science to it. He eats more than he should eat. Oh,
Well,
hold on a
it's,
second. We got Tanner calling.
it is a discipline issue. It's just not a fight discipline issue.
Right, exactly. Oh, hello there, Tanner.
Yo, what's up? Sorry, I misspelled his name. I was kind of not paying attention. I'm driving home right now. So yeah, Calvin, man, like you were saying, he's so fucking talented. He's good on the feet. His wrestling is very, very good. And I think he would cause fits for Usman in anywhere. With distance between them in a clinch. I think he'd fucking piece him up, man. Honestly.
Now we just need you to go and cook for him and keep him on diet for a good 6 months. You want to do that, Tanner?
Oh, shit, have you seen me with my shirt off lately, Dalton? I'm not cooking for anybody. I'm just starting keto today because I'm fucking finally sick of the 8 pounds that I put on during this COVID fucking shit. And I wasn't real lean to begin with. If anybody's seen my pictures can attest to that.
Oh, I thought you were just going to go backpack into the woods and, hunt for your food and that would be your diet.
Yeah. Dig a hole as a latrine with a frickin' Jim Bowie knife, the whole nine. Yep.
That's the next step after your backpacking bike and everything else. Like, we're betting on you to be on alone, like the next season. You up in Siberia or whatever.
Dude, I would not survive. I'm not that crafty. My bushcraft skills are not up to snuff. I just want to pack in with a box of fucking wine and drink wine and have a campfire and then pack out. Man, that's the goal.
That's your entire supply kit.
Well, you figure you can't take beer. I'm not going to carry dry ice. I'm not going to carry a cooler of beer. What's the next best thing? It's hotter than hell, so I'm not going to drink whiskey straight up. So I figure a box of wine during this summer heat is probably the best alcoholic drink I can pack in and still be a refined gentleman.
So of course you have to bring plastic wine glasses. You can't bring your good crystal out there.
Or just use it like an old wineskin and drink it right out of the spout.
So I just picture you holding the box over your head. There you go. That's a good plan.
Yeah, I didn't want to extend the podcast too much. I know Dalton's probably fucking tired from being up till 2 a.m. I just wanted to. I got to thinking you guys were talking about Usman and some of his potential fights coming up, and I'm thinking, God damn it, if Calvin could get his shit together, that would work out well for him.
Yeah, no, it would. He's always been a fun fighter to watch. It's like his biggest problem's been the scale mostly.
Yeah, for sure. But I think I'm going to hit that dead spot in the road coming up, guys. So I'll let you get going so I don't ruin the last goodbyes of the show. So I'm going to take off. Y'all be easy.
Have a good one,
All
Tanner.
right, you have a great day then. Yep. Thanks for calling, boss.
Peace. Yep.
All right. Well, shit, that is probably about it. Before we get to your last couple things, you got anything else you want to cover before we get out of here?
Yeah, I think I also want to cover part where Gastelum shit the bed versus Till. So this actually might be a good reason for Gastelum to finally get his shit together and drop the weight. Mm-hmm. Because if you think about it, right, like Darren Till is fucking massive.
Yeah, that's a big dude.
So like there is where you can see the difference between Gastelum and like somebody that truly cuts to hit middleweight.
Right.
So you could see it in the fight. Like Calvin was definitely like the smaller human. So I wonder if at some point he doesn't see like, hey, I've now gone out and I've lost 2 fights in a row. One of them was against a fucking undefeated champion. So like no harm there. But like at what point do you end up, going back to the drawing board and saying like, well shit, like I need to hire someone to make sure that I am at the right weight.
Yeah, at some point, it's either that or just accept that you're not going to beat people at the highest level at middleweight. If you like eating enough and you're happy with fighting middle of the road fighters for the rest of your career, well then go for it. That's not. There are worse things to be. But if he really wants to have any chance of fighting for the belt, really, he should probably take your advice and drop down.
Yeah, I think that's the right place for him. And Jusher, Shoney Carter is like 78 years old. Who's he going to come back and fight? Ken Shamrock?
Yeah, dude's best win was like a lucky shot. I mean, there's no such thing as a lucky shot, but that was a lucky shot.
Anybody that connects with some spinny shit, generally there's a little bit of luck involved.
Right. Not that I begrudge him. Shoney Carter's fucking hilarious. That season of fucking The Ultimate Fighter was awesome. You know, the one where I think that was season 4 where they fought for the chance to fight George St. Pierre.
Yeah, the one where Sarah shocked the world.
Yeah. It was funny watching them interact with each other during that season. Because I think even Shoney Carter realized that he got lucky with that fucking shit.
Oh, absolutely. I think the best Shoney Carter moment out there, and I'm sure everyone has seen it, was that fight that he was reffing. It was the double knockout.
No, I don't think I saw that.
You have not seen that? Yeah, so guys go out, it's a double knockout, and Shoney just has that just like jaw drop crazy look of let's like freaking out because he just witnessed a double knockout.
That's hilarious. My biggest memory of him is just wearing some fucking pimp suit someplace. I can't remember if he was during one of his walk-ins or if he was just in the audience or something, but like literal pimp suit with the cane and the big hat.
Yeah, Shoney was definitely a showman, but yeah, he was never.
Yes, he certainly was.
He's never like the baddest dude in the world.
No, but yeah, he had made a pretty good career out of it, so good for him. Got anything else before you finish up, sir?
No, nothing else other than a couple things we'll get to.
All right. In that case, I want to thank the OG Army for showing up. We couldn't do the show without you. I appreciate you every time you're here. I want to thank my co-host, Big Dalton. I couldn't do a show without him either, and obviously he could do one without me. You got anything else, dude, sir?
Yeah, I got a couple things. So interesting thing this week, we're gonna have fights to pick tomorrow because I think there are Fight Island fights on Wednesday, and then there'll also be additional fights on Saturday. So Saturday, I don't believe is a pay-per-view, but I would say there's about a 40 or 50% chance we may say fuck it and do a fight companion if I decide I'm just going to be home anyway. So more to come on that one. Maybe Jay can stay up till, 7:09 this time.
maybe not.
But other than that, the only other thing that I do have, and this goes to every last one of you, especially you bastards sending claps and other nickels at the chat. Fuck all y'all.
I am happy to dance for your pennies. You guys have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow at 6. Bye-bye.
Screw you, hippie!